Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm sure we'll still have a handful of folks joining as we get started, but we have a lot to cover in only an hour, and so we'll jump right in. We are so excited to have you join us today for Reading Aloud with Purpose, Interactions to Foster a Love of Literacy. My name is Liz, and I'm with Teachstone, and we are just thrilled to be bringing you this special session in partnership with Children's Literacy Initiative. And we were lucky enough to have Michele present some of this content at our Interact class summit last month. And we loved it, and the attendees loved it so much that we reached out to Michele afterward and said, any chance you would be open to sharing with a broader audience? And she very kindly said yes. And so we are glad to be able to offer that for everyone here today. And we certainly know that reading aloud is more than just sharing a story. It's an opportunity to connect, to build language, to foster a lifelong love of reading. And today's session is all about helping you make the most of those moments. In just a moment, I will pass it off to Michele, but just a couple quick housekeeping things first, and we'll get started. So today's session is being recorded. We will make sure that everybody gets access to the recording and the slides afterward. And so if you're not able to stay the whole time, or some of your friends or colleagues weren't able to join us live, no worries. We'll make sure everybody gets access to the material. And we will be monitoring the chat box and the Q&A box. My colleague Benjamin, you can see, is also on the call. And so feel free to chat in any questions you might have, either for Teachstone or for Michele, and we'll try and make time for those at the end. And otherwise, we'll have 60 minutes today, and we'll spend about 45 with Michele sharing her expertise, and then we'll do about a 15-minute live Q&A. And so drop those questions in at any time, and we can try to get to as many as we can. Otherwise, I certainly have a handful for her myself. And so please join me in welcoming Michele. I'll stop sharing my screen and let you take over for me, Michele.
Awesome. Thank you, and welcome everyone. So excited to be here today to talk about Read Aloud. Let's see here. 1 second. So and ready to go. I would love for you to drop in the chat real quick. I really appreciate everyone dropping in where they're from. So excited that you are all here to join us. And would love for you to share real quickly, what was your favorite read aloud, either as a child or in the classroom? So go ahead and drop those in the chat. We love to share really great books and read alouds, especially those that are close to our heart. My name is Michele LaCoursiere-Ferrer. I am the Managing Director of Strategic Partnerships for the Children's Literacy Initiative. I have been an educator for very, very many years. So funny, when I started out my college career, I was like, I want to be a doctor. And then I thought to myself, I don't want to be in school for the rest of my life. And what am I doing now? In school for the rest of my life, and wouldn't change a thing for the world. Children's Literacy Initiative is a nationwide nonprofit organization that provides birth through grade 8 coaching and professional development across the nation, and super excited to share this time with you today. I've told you a little bit about us and myself, and I would love to get to know who's here. So as we're getting started, I would love for you to scan this QR code if you have your phone, fill out the short little information. It will let me know who's here with us today, and be able to reach out and get to know you a little bit better in the future. So let's go ahead and get started. So, one of our goals today is about digging into read alouds. So, of course, we can't start any differently than with a read aloud. And we're going to be engaging in a lot of different books today. And so, while you're listening to this book, I want you to think about what would your children enjoy and go ahead and drop it in the chat as you're listening.
Peekaboo Zoo by Joyce Wan. With brown fuzzy fur, I grumble and growl. I live in the woods where I like to prowl. Guess who? Peekaboo Bear. I swing from the vines and play in the trees. I have a long tail and hang by my knees. Guess who? Peekaboo Monkey. I have a big head with a wild mane. I roam and roar on grassy plains. Guess who? Peekaboo Lion.
So I'm seeing all of the great comments in the chat. It's interactive. And who by the third page wasn't going, guess who? Peekaboo. It's interactive. It's great for guessing. Children would love to flip down the page. Children can imitate by covering their eyes and playing peekaboo, voices, tones, cute pictures. Yes, so many of these things would resonate with the children in our classrooms. And that is just the foundation of what Read Aloud is. What books will captivate and catch their attention while also providing us opportunity to really build concept development. So, in today's session, we're going to focus on four main things. We're going to articulate why read aloud and text discussion are essential to equitable literacy instruction. And yes, text discussion at the infant level as well. We're going to refine our vision for equitable read alouds and shared text experiences. We're going to explore a variety of books that reflect and broaden children's experiences. And we're going to learn about ways to make read alouds interactive and warm, which is so important for that relationship building. Here's our class link. Throughout the presentation, you will see these icons on specific concepts and things that I will be discussing. We're going to focus in to four essential domains and dimensions within class, and that's instructional learning formats, concept development, language modeling, and quality of feedback. So keep an eye out for those icons. So our first section is to dig into why read alouds matter. So we have started to talk about creating excitement over books in our classrooms. And so we want to take some time to think more about our personal experiences with reading, because our personal experiences with reading translate to our classroom experiences with reading. And so I want you to think about what you read and your own experiences as a reader or as reading as an educator. Why do read alouds matter to children? Drop your ideas in the chat. I'm sure we have memories of being read to as a child. Who read to you? What about your reading life now? Are you one of those readers that devour books weekly? Are you part of a book club? A moment to connect, to support learning, to expose children to language, increase vocabulary, connection, imagination, way to connect with the adult in your life, adventure, promote literacy, experience different worlds, social interaction, new ideas to sprout. I love that, Christina. Thank you. Wow, all of these fantastic ideas that you're sharing. Please keep them coming. As we build our vision of read aloud and shared text, it is important to define what we're talking about and be clear about read aloud and shared text purpose. Read-alouds are any shared text experience, a poem, a book, any kind of flip book, soft book, anything where from infants when they're sitting on our lap and engaging to when we're sitting in circle time, sharing a text. And it's when children are accessing text in community with each other. And it's a collaborative and purposeful text-based discussion. So when we talk about in community with each other, we want to ensure that we're creating space to speak freely. The books are just the beginning, not the end. When readers share their meaning with others, they deepen their understanding and expand their thinking. So, reading is powerful tools for literacy learning, and it's powerful tool to create self-expression and autonomy and a joy and love for reading. And that's all of the reasons why read aloud are so important. As we just uncovered, there are many reasons why read alouds matter so much, and we want to highlight and spend a little more bit more time with three of these reasons so that we can really understand and express these ideas to others. We know our goal today is to be able to articulate why read alouds are so important, and this is especially important in the current educational climate where many people are focusing on time and money and energy into other areas. And we want to ensure that we're focusing on building language comprehension, how children are hearing language, how they're using language. We want to give children access and exposure to worthwhile texts. The texts that we provide are windows and mirrors and sliding glass doors. And we want to promote motivation, joy, and engagement. Children should want to go back and revisit texts again and again. So let's talk about the vision for Read Aloud. As we ground ourselves in what we want read alouds to look like, sound like, and feel like in our classroom, CLI has developed an amazing tool to help support you in your vision building. And this is our CLI framework for teaching and learning. And this is inside your participant resource packet. And it is broken into 4 different sections for read aloud and shared text. One is materials and resources. And so this is about the books and materials that we are choosing. We want to make sure that they are offering opportunities for children to learn and engage with enhanced language, experience different things, go on adventures, like you said. And also making sure that the text is free from bias or any stereotypes. The next section is our child actions. We always want to ground in what we want children to experience and how we want children to interact with the text. And so this is about their collaboration, anchoring their learning in their text, connecting their learning to all of that spaces and places within the classroom. And then, of course, in order to get those child actions, we know teachers have to take specific actions. So the next section is our teacher actions, where we dig into intellectual prep, language practices, how we're supporting children and using all of their language, as well as anchoring learning in the text and connecting learning. And the last section is classroom ecology, because we know teaching does not happen in a vacuum. The space we create, the community we build also enhances learning. The great thing about this tool is it can be used for you as a teacher for self-reflection, to set your own goals about your classroom practice. It can be used as a viewing lens for classroom walkthroughs. You can record yourself doing a read aloud and then use it as a viewing lens for how you did to reflect. It can also be used as a diagnostic tool for goal setting, as well as progress monitoring of those goals, and of course, to measure your change and practice over time, which is so important. So here's some key ideas about read aloud. We want children to be doing the cognitive lift. So often, us as teachers, we're running around, hair on fire, trying to engage children. And the read aloud time is for us to be the facilitator of the learning, but for the kids to do the thinking, the talking, and the cognitive work. We want to ensure that we're talking about concept development to get to the text discussion that's at the deepest meaning. Yes, it's important to talk about who the characters are and what they're doing, but there are deeper meanings about friendship, about relationships that it's important to talk about as well. I shared this already. Teacher's role is the facilitator. We're not pouring into empty vessels. We are facilitating conversation, facilitating learning and ideas. We want to ensure learning is connected, not only to other texts, but to the concepts we're learning, the children are learning, as well as center activities, the provocations that we're putting out, and how we're helping them learn in community through collaborative conversations. Language play and practice are also important, and we want to ensure children are having critical literacy conversations as well. So now we're going to dive into some exploring books because the books are the base of our read aloud. So let's dig in to talk about the variety of books that we have available for read aloud. We want to ensure that they represent, reflect, and expand. So, represent the children's identity, reflect their daily lives, and expand their world. So, as I shared our framework in action, if you turn in your packet to the books and materials section, you'll see the specific indicators that text is complex. It is age level appropriate and a good candidate for concept development. We want to ensure that it is inclusive and contributes to diversity. And we want to ensure that text authentically and accurately reflects the identities of the cultures, the races, and the children in front of us. And we want to make sure that there is strong alignment between the text and the concepts that we want to engage children in. So let's start out with represent. Representation in books matters since children are so very interested that include books that include children and characters that look like them and share common experiences. We want to make sure that books offer mirrors so children see themselves, windows so they can see into the other world, and sliding glass doors so that they can look through and step into a different experience. Books can also teach very important cultural lessons and instill cultural joy, pride, and connectedness. So take a moment to look at the books pictured on this slide. What do you notice about the diversity? Drop it in the chat. Yes, different abilities, varying cultures, representation. Yes, we want to make sure diversity just isn't about race. We want to ensure diversity includes gender roles, cultures, ethnic groups, religious groups, family structures, economical classes, physical abilities, skin tones, and body shapes. We want to also make sure that books are reflective of children's home language. Bilingual books build vocabulary in both languages. We want to ensure that if we have children who speak multiple languages in our classroom, that we are encouraging them to participate, respond in their home language. And so by having books that reflect their home language and us as the teacher using that home language as we read means something. We want to also know that bilingual books highlight other cultures and that learning about other people's cultures can boost children's social emotional development, which is so important to all of us. We've been talking about representation. However, we would be remiss if we didn't talk about the opposite, stereotypes. Unfortunately, all of us absorb socially prevailing stereotypes about a range of people, even if we do not consciously subscribe to them. Therefore, it's important that we spend time critically reviewing books when we select them. I know that all of us have had those moments where we had a rough night the night before or didn't get to plan our read aloud, and we walk into a classroom and we grab a book and we plop down and we read it. And we fly by the seat of our pants. And while sometimes that's what has to happen in order to survive, I would say that it's really important that as educators that we take time not only to evaluate the books, but also to spend time reading them. When we connect with the deeper meaning of the text and when we look at a book, we know that we're ready to ask all of those great questions and ensure that it is the just right book for our read aloud and our concept that we are learning about. So it's really important to be aware of any sort of stereotypes, an oversimplified generalization about a particular identity group, or tokenism, which is an only one method. And so there is a checklist in your participant handout that helps you with evaluating books. So now let's focus on two other types of books. Ones that reflect the daily lives and ones that expand children's world. As we look at these books, I want you to start thinking about your own classroom libraries. Which do you think is well reflected? And what are maybe some areas that your library still needs? So, we want to talk about the variety of books in our classroom. We want to ensure that there are books that express language and vocabulary, concepts like colors and numbers. We also want to ensure that we have books where children learn about their world, form positive identities, provide positive and accurate messages about the diversity of cultures in our society. We also want books to pique their curiosity, things that they're interested in. So we may need to look and listen as we are round about our classroom. What are children gravitating to? What are their interests? And how are we bringing text that aligns with that? And we also want to ensure that books form positive relationships. So we want reading to be a joyful experience. So we're just going to go through a few different types of books. You can see here that these are photos and books of familiar things, things that we know our infants and toddlers are experiencing. With also concept development, right? We can talk about different animal names. We can talk about the emotions that we see on the pages and colors. Here are some hello and goodbye books. These books speak to children's development, helping them to learn about transitions and deal with separation anxiety. These types of books teach children about their world. They are exposed to new worlds and new concepts. These are ABC books, number books, counting books, shape books, color books, books about people in the community, and also books about vehicles and animals and dinosaurs and all of the things. Rhyming books support children's language learning through fun wordplay, just like that Guess Who peekaboo book that we listened to at the beginning. Rhyming books, nursery rhymes, Older toddlers and pre-K children love to fill in the blank with the rhyming word. So we can take our rhyming books and poems and extend them into centers and fun wordplay. Concept books are also really important. And this is where we really expand our concept development, have the opportunity to provide meaningful feedback. These concept books that I pulled together here is from a great unit that a school that we supported did called I Am an Architect. And they spent an entire month learning about architects, architecture, how homes are built, homes around the world, the classroom space, the dramatic play became an architect's office with a telephone and a computer, and they made their own blueprints. They used junk that we find around the house, paper towel tubes, toilet paper tubes, any sort of cardboard activity to build their own buildings. In Block Center, they got to create their own structures and describe how they made them. And it all was launched with the beautiful set of books, many more that they utilized than these three here. But you can see how books can be clustered together to build really dynamic and essential concept building. So let's take some time to reflect on our own classroom libraries. We want to think about how diverse are the books in your classroom library? How well do the books in your classroom reflect the children's identities? Can each of the children find a book with a character that looks like them? Do your children see themselves in your classroom library? Do they see the things that they do, the places they go? And what books do you use that reflect children's life experiences? How do the books in your collection expand children's knowledge? And what types of books in your collection are they more interested in? Are they going to the classroom library? So now we're going to watch this teacher read aloud and use this wordless picture book. As you're watching, I want you to think about why this activity can be such a wonderful time for building communication skills and relationships with young children. And I want you to also think about how did this teacher make this read aloud engaging, concept building, and of course, a caring activity.
This story is in black and white. It's in black and white. Yes. So let's get ready for our story. What is that? You're right. It is a bib. And what is this? Utensils. Fork and spoon. Oh, this is banana. And what does that look like? Did you say apple? Yes, that is an apple. Ooh, is that a large pig? And these are small pigs? Can you make the pig sound? Oink, oink, oink. Good job. This looks like a person can sit on a rocking horse. And what is that? Some of our babies use that. Yes, a bottle, a baby's bottle. What is this? A butterfly and leaf. Oh, look at that. That looks like a bird and a flower. You see that? I wonder if you can find this flower in your garden today. What is this? Right? A choo-choo train. Chugga 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 choo-choo. That shape a pacifier, and it looks like a stuffed bunny. Keys. And an elephant. Elephants stomp their feet. Stomp, 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 stomp. Very good job. A balloon. Chairs that we sit in. Miss April sitting in the chair. Oh, this looks like a cat. And that looks like the kittens. See? Look at those kittens. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 kittens.
So even in a book with no words at all, this teacher made this a brain building activity. So drop in the chat. What are some of the things that you noticed? How did she make it a brain building activity? How did she build on concepts? What actions did she take that made this warm and inviting and brought joy to this time together? Yes, she was labeling items. She asked questions, made interesting sounds. Yes, gave time for the children to answer. She was excited. Absolutely. She was using language modeling, making connections, giving hints, describing the sounds, talking about real life. She was connecting it to their world outside. Yes, she was directing the attention of the children to look at specific things. She was labeling, she was imitating, making comments about the pictures. She asked closed-ended questions and open-ended questions, and she offered positive feedback to confirm accurate observations and attempts. How many of you read wordless picture books to your children? If you haven't yet, try it. It's super fun. So now we're going to go into how to continue to make read-alouds interactive and warm experiences. So I'd love to hear from you. How do you make read-aloud experiences an engaging, brain-building, caring activity in your own classroom? The best way we learn is to learn from each other. So share your ideas. Oh, Anna, yes, puppets. I love adding puppets. Using props, fluctuating my voice. Yes, reading the same books over and over again. Acting out the story, a storyboard, movement opportunities. Sarah, so important. Facial expressions, connecting to music, felt additions on storyboards, chants, props, singing, using a variety of voice tones, allowing children to choose books, asking a lot of open-ended questions. Oh, I love that, Kathy. You call it read it again. Movement. Oh, I love how all of you are making read aloud a full body experience. And not only does that help keep little minds and little feet and hands engaged, but it also helps them really connect to the book, and it makes it a joyful experience. Thank you so much for sharing. So in your participant guide, if you would flip to the framework teacher actions, you will begin to see the types of actions us as educators can intentionally take to get the result that we want with our children. So the first indicator is around intellectual prep and language practices. This is the planning part. This is where we specifically think about the discussions that we want to engage children in. We also need to think about our instructional routines and pacing. How far in are we waiting until we ask a question? How are we directing children's attention to things on the book? How are we speeding up or slowing down? What types of routines do we need in our classroom in order for children to engage in all of these reading experiences? How are we anchoring our learning in the text? Which means, how are we getting the children to look inside the book, to see the characters, to see the print? How are we thinking about critical ways to talk about what we're seeing in the book? And how are we connecting this to other areas of learning throughout the day? So, when we think about planning for read aloud, we want to determine the quality of our text. We want to figure out what we are learning, what type of experience we want our children to have, and then what book is the best to do this. And we want to pre-read the text. I know we've all talked about that experience, but it's really important to pre-read. We want to note any vocabulary or key concepts. I love to use Post-it notes, those little tiny sticky ones that you can just stick right on the page with your question, or a star to remind you to stop on a specific page. We want to plan our discussion questions before, during, and after reading. This is where we can intentionally make sure that we're asking those higher order questions and that we're linking to concept development. We're not reading just to read, we're reading to build experience and build knowledge. We want to consider the type of teacher language that we want to use. And of course, we want to plan for the unexpected. We all know that there's always that time where something unexpected happens. So we want to pre-plan for that so that we know how to address it in the moment. We also want to make sure we prepare our materials and have any sort of props or puppets, like so many of you shared. That is really important to have all that ready to go. So here's a couple tips to make it warm. We want to make it personal. We want to be in close proximity. So we want to, if have our infants on our laps or have a couple of them in front of us. In a toddler classroom, if we have a second teacher or another adult in the classroom, maybe we break into two groups and we have smaller groups and do read alouds. We want to talk about it, ask questions, get the children involved in the book, make voices for the characters, have yourself and the children encourage them to read the pictures, and of course, make a daily routine. Reading should be multiple times throughout the day. So many of you mentioned read it again time. So rereading books is so important. For the children, it helps them savor the language, the richness of characters and the events, and have them re-experience these things. We all know that when we read a book more than once, we discover new things the more times we read it. So let's allow children to do that too. We want to they enjoy participating when they're reading familiar books. If the book has a repetitive sentence, encourage them to read along with you. Let them finish the sentence, read the pictures, turn the pages, and take turns reading when possible. And so we also want to make sure that we're getting the books in kids' hands after we read them. So it's important with big books, allow children the opportunity to explore them, even regular sized books. And it's important that we show them through our daily read alouds how we treat books like gold, how we turn the pages, how we open them. And for our infants, give them books they can eat. Soft-sided books, those indestructibles, those are all great things because we know tasting is reading in the infant classroom. For teachers, we want to focus on different aspects of the book, enjoy the illustrations, and concentrate on the words used. And of course, questions, questions, questions. Talk about what's happening in the pictures. And this really helps children engage in the process. So now we'll talk about our child actions. Our vision for child actions starts with the language practices. We want children to use a variety of language practices, their home language, English, if you do sign language, any way that they can communicate about what they're experiencing during read aloud. We also want to give them an opportunity to collaborate. That looks like talking with each other, asking each other questions, talking about how they're connecting to the book, and want to also share that when you think about collaboration, I saw the most amazing video on Instagram of an infant classroom where the teacher put the infants together facing each other and had read them a story and then just let them babble. And it was the most amazing infant collaboration I've ever seen. The children were reaching out and touching each other, they were babbling back and forth. And so collaboration can happen at the infant level. And of course, we know at pre-K, kids love to talk to each other. So let's I love that, Wendy. Call it baby book club. That's amazing. And so our pre-K kids, let's give them a chance to talk about the book. Anchoring learning in the text, that can be letting them, look closely at the pictures. That can mean having pictures in front of them for themselves to use, props, all that considered anchoring learning in the text. And we want to give children an opportunity to ask questions about cultural, linguistic, and racial themes and ideas within the text, create the space for that, and have the discussion and not shy away from that. And we want to also ensure that we're connecting the learning across other texts to learning experiences, provocations, centers, as well as their life experiences. So what we're going to do now is we are going to watch a little snippet because we're almost at our time for questions of a read aloud observation. And what I'm going to challenge you to do is pick one of the framework domains, either books and materials, child actions, teacher actions, or classroom ecology. And if I give you a little nudge, I will say try to use child actions or teacher actions. And we're going to do a quick read aloud observation. And I want you to take a look at what you're noticing in this classroom. Are you wondering anything? And how has having a vision of what read aloud is and why it's important help you define what you're seeing? Okay, let's get started. Well, my video is deciding that it does not want to play today. I apologize. I do not know what is happening. So, tech is always going to get you sometimes. So, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to do the read aloud observation. But I will encourage you. Yeah, I know. I don't see why it's not playing. Oh, okay. I apologize, everyone. Um, so I would love for you, I'll challenge you to do this. When you go back into your classroom tomorrow, I want you to record yourself doing a read aloud. And I want you to use one of those 4 framework domains to give yourself some feedback. What are you doing really well? What are areas that you want to grow in? And how can you set some goals for yourself? So, with that, I would love to hear from you from this training. What is one thing you can't wait to try with your children when you get back into your classroom? Go ahead and drop it in the chat. And thank you all for your helpful advice in the chat. Really appreciate that. Yes, baby book club, more books without words. Add more props, using puppets, reading without words, animated. Oh, thank you, Ashley. Allowing more crosstalk with the kids. Using books as project learning, involve children more in the story, more diversity. Ah, you're going to share all this info with teachers. That's great. Thank you. More interactions, discussions, share with coworkers. Amazing. Well, at CLI, we are always a learning, growing organization, and your feedback is so important to us and to me as a facilitator. So, if you could just take a quick moment to take our survey and give me feedback, I appreciate adjusting feedback. So, if there was something you were hoping for that you didn't quite get, please let me know. And if you could take a quick minute to complete our survey. And I know some of you in the chat were asking about that QR code from the beginning. I will quickly put that back on the screen so that you can grab that as well. And I'll put the link to the survey in the chat. And with
Thanks
that,
so much, Michelle.
yeah, no problem.
And we'll keep that Q&A open. So please keep dropping your questions in. I know I have a couple, and I see Sherry has shared one that was also one I wrote down. So great minds think alike, Sherry. All right, well, I will jump in. So thinking about all of the things that are challenging also about making time and having sort of like the distraction-free space and ability to do these sort of high quality read alouds. Do you have any practical strategies that teachers can use during their story time to specifically promote those like cognitive and language development skills that we teach them, kind of bucket under instructional support in the class framework? Which do you, if you were going to take one strategy to try tomorrow, what would you recommend?
I think there's more than one, but I think first and foremost is reading the book, right? So we want to make sure that we take that time to read the book ahead of time and plan out all of the things that we could do with the book, right? And so what I suggest is that we have tons of books. We read books all day long. And so when you read a book, put a Post-it note on the inside of the back cover of all the potential concepts that could be discussed in that book, because you can revisit that book over and over again and touch on different concepts each time. And so that first deep read, do that. Think about all the things, write it on a Post-it note, stick it in the back, and then think about, okay, what is the theme that's happening this week or this month? What is the learning that I have out for the children? What do I hope to accomplish? What are their individual goals? And how do the things that I just listed in this book help me do that? And then you pick one, and you dig, right? And you dig in, because tomorrow's book, you're going to expand on that concept and maybe to a different level. And so that would be the one tip that I would give that will help not only in that moment, but every single time, because you'll revisit, pick a new concept.
Love it. And I think sort of on the other end, we think about, higher order thinking, but also you mentioned having sort of responsive interactions, and that those are really at the heart of a powerful read aloud experience. Can you talk a little bit more about how educators can use read alouds, not only to support comprehension and critical thinking, but to have, that respond in the moment to children's ideas and their needs, and how that might build a supportive relationship with this.
Yeah, it's absolutely. So that's where we get into quality of feedback, right? We want to ensure that children feel supported in whatever answer they give, whether it's right, wrong, or totally off topic. We want to make sure that we're not squashing their use of voice first and foremost. So, how can you find quickly the connection to the text? Or the book that you're reading or something that you're experiencing, and provide supportive redirection, right? So if you're reading a book about a playground experience, and a child says, I went to sleep last night. Wow, you went to sleep last night? You must have been really tired from playing on the playground yesterday. Remember we did this? So you're encouraging them to share, and also providing some gentle redirective feedback to get them back on topic, which then you can say, what did you do on the playground yesterday? And what did the character in the book do in the playground experience? So it's finding those ways back, to get them back re-engaged. And also, that's why we focus a lot on grounding in the text, because another way to softly redirect is, well, what do you see on this page? Is the child sleeping? And the student child in the class will go, no, they're playing. You're right, they're playing. So what do you have to say about their playing on the playground, or their experience? How are they feeling? So that's where you just like with all the questions to help redirect them.
Amazing. Okay. And so if the folks joining us today are a coach or an instructional leader who are more in the role of supporting teachers, what are some ways that they might be able to help them grow in their read aloud practice with some of your strategies?
Yeah, absolutely. I think first and foremost is ensuring that you are grounding in a vision, right? So, what is your vision for Read Aloud? Granted, we have a really great guide that I shared with all of you that will help you develop, enhance, and also reflect on your own vision of a Read Aloud. And so that's a starting point. Then, once you have the vision, it's about communicating the vision to your school community. How are you helping? How are teachers contributing to that vision? Because as leaders and coaches in a building, it's not just about us, it is about everybody. And so, how are we asking teachers to contribute to that vision, and engaging them in staff meetings and professional developments around the vision? And then utilizing the vision to do observations, to give feedback. We want to make sure that we're always, everything we do as leaders and coaches and support of our teachers is bridge building, right? We're taking us from where we are to the vision, and all of those steps in between is how we get there. And so that can be communicating and engaging in the vision. That is supporting the vision by making sure we're giving feedback around the vision, that we're doing observations, that things are grounded, the feedback is grounded in the vision, and we're helping teachers grow towards that vision.
Amazing. I feel like you've answered all of my questions. I've been looking to see. I know lots of people, thank you, want your survey. We'll make sure to put that in the recording as well. We had a question from Crystal about the sort of maybe banned book suggestions. Do you want to touch on that?
Yeah, so Skippy John Jones, yes, you are correct. It did have an X in it. So Skippy John Jones has a tendency to promote negative stereotypes around Hispanic culture. And so it has a tendency to communicate messages that don't really reflect the diverse of Hispanic culture. And so it does, it is one of the books that, as CLI, as an organization, we have a double vetting process for books that we utilize in our support or that we recommend to our partners. And that's one that would not have made the double vetting. But that's one of the reasons why.
All right. I think this might, unless anyone chats in, my last question we had in the chat. Someone said, do you have suggestions or resources for parent volunteers that might come in and help in the classroom? And maybe especially if you have ideas of where they can find those resources in Spanish.
Yeah, absolutely. We have resources on our website. Also, if you, whoever asked that question, I can also drop my email in the chat. And I can send some resources your way. Really, it's about helping them support the vision, right? And so if you have classroom volunteers in your classroom, you may start out with them observing you doing a read aloud, right? And having conversation about what you did, why you did it. And so that is the first step, is that modeling, and then giving them opportunity to try it out with you guiding them on the side, right? So you don't want to, we want to, this is a process and it's important. And I know we think about, oh, well, the volunteer's just in for that one day. And if they're in for one day, yep, we can have activities. You can break up the class. They can have part of the class and they're doing a hands-on activity, which is you could give them directions to do it that's related to the book, and then you swap groups where then you read, they do an activity. So there's lots of different ways to use parent volunteers in the classroom, as well as a co-teacher or another adult in the classroom. But we'll definitely share some additional resources if you send me an email. I see, Dana, you've put your email in the chat. Really appreciate that. And I will share with you. But you can also check on our website as well.
Amazing. Well, we are right down to the end. Thank you so much, Michele, for sharing your insights, your expertise. I know we certainly appreciate it. It sounds like everyone in the chat does as well. Such a powerful reminder of how meaningful we can make read-alouds to really shape language development and a love of literacy. And thank you to everyone who's able to join us. We hope you're leaving today's session inspired. If you have questions for us, you can reach us at webinars@teachstone.com. We'd love to see you in our class learning community, and we will follow up with everyone that registered, even if you weren't able to attend, with the recording and handouts and future opportunities that we would love for you to join us at. And thank you again. Thank you, Michele. We hope to see you.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, absolutely. Grateful to be here. Thanks, everyone.